the scoring record or, the wins rather. And, instead of him being acknowledged, Rob Pelinka acknowledges J.J. Redick. Fair enough. Forget Rob Pelinka. He doesn't really matter that much in this equation. Who matters is Jeannie Buss. Who matters are the Los Angeles Lakers. On one hand, you're LeBron James that came to the Lakers when they were losing games, when Kobe had stepped away from the game, when they clearly didn't have winning in their sights or what have you.
The Lakers head coach just exposed LeBron James in a way nobody saw coming. And LeBron's retirement decision, it just went completely off the rails. This is the moment that changes everything. The moment the coach said what the entire organization had been whispering behind closed doors for months. And here's what's wild. This isn't circulating on the major outlets yet. Most people haven't even connected the dots. But once you hear what actually went down between LeBron and his own head coach, you're going to look at this entire Lakers season completely differently. So stay locked in, because this story gets darker before it gets clearer.
You got to be a demon to get by this man. You got to be a demon to give him some work and get off. Right, nigga. What, you feel me? Man, that's a dark dude, bro. Because you're going to have to really dominate somebody mentally, physically, together, and then in the form of creation in the bag, bro, you got to be a different dude. And that's what I'm watching. When they need a point and it comes down to 10 seconds, he got it. He'll look for the pick and roll versus just demon.
Let's go back to the beginning of 2025. On paper, everything with the Lakers looked fine, manageable. LeBron was still producing numbers that would make guys half his age uncomfortable. The fan base was cautiously optimistic. In the coaching staff, publicly, everyone was singing from the same hymn sheet. But here's what people missed. There's a difference between a team that's unified and a team that's just good at hiding the cracks. And the Lakers in early 2025, they were hiding cracks the size of fault lines. See, what casual fans don't realize is that by the time something leaks to the media, the situation behind the scenes has already been boiling for weeks, sometimes months. The public always gets the story late, always. And this story had been building since before the new year even started. People in the organization, people close to the day-to-day operations, were already noticing something different about LeBron. Not his game, not his stats, something in his energy. Something in the way he was moving through the building. He was distant. Not in a bad mood kind of way, not in a frustrated veteran kind of way. Distant like a man who was already somewhere else in his head. And when LeBron James goes somewhere else in his head, the entire franchise feels it. Because like it or not, this organization doesn't just revolve around LeBron's talent, it revolves around his presence, his intention, his buy-in. And those close to the team were starting to quietly ask the same question. Is he still all the way in? Nobody was saying it out loud yet. Nobody dared. But the question was hanging in the air of every film session, every practice, every closed-door meeting. And then the head coach started talking.
We had great chemistry from day one. There was trust there. But I remember, like it was yesterday, wasn't that long ago, I don't know why I'm saying that, but in the fourth quarter when I had it going, there was a shot, I forgot, I think D'Lo might have got the rebound and he outlet it to Bron, and obviously I'm going to run to the corner. Bron's got the ball. And I get to half court and I hear him yelling my name.
Now here's where it gets real. Because coaches talk, that's what they do. To the media, to assistants, to front office people, to trusted insiders. And most of the time, those conversations stay contained. Most of the time, what's said in those rooms stays in those rooms. Most of the time. In the spring of 2025, during what should have been a routine media availability, the Lakers head coach said something. And on the surface, it sounded like coach speak, the kind of diplomatic, carefully worded answer you'd expect from someone who's been trained to say a lot while revealing nothing. But read between the lines, and it was a grenade. He was asked directly about LeBron's future with the team, about planning, about where things stood heading into the next phase of the season. And instead of the usual, LeBron is locked in, LeBron is our guy, LeBron this, LeBron that, He paused. That pause lasted maybe 2 seconds, but in the world of NBA media and front office politics, 2 seconds of silence from a head coach when asked about his franchise player is basically a 5-alarm fire. Then he said something along the lines of, "We're planning for every possible situation. As a coaching staff, you have to be prepared for every possible situation." Every possible situation. Now let me ask you something. When has a Lakers head coach ever talked about every possible situation when asked about LeBron James? Never, because LeBron was the situation. LeBron was the plan. LeBron was the beginning, middle, and end of every conversation about this franchise's future. So when the coach starts talking about contingencies, about preparing for every scenario, what he's actually telling you, without saying it directly, is this: we don't know if LeBron is coming back, and we're preparing for the possibility that he isn't. The clip got shared, it got clipped, it got dissected in group chats and comment sections across the internet, and the reaction from LeBron's camp? Complete silence. No correction, no clarification, no pushback. Nothing. And that silence? That was louder than anything the coach said. Okay, so now we need to talk about the thing everyone's been dancing around: LeBron James and retirement. Because here's what the mainstream conversation keeps getting wrong. People treat LeBron's retirement decision like it's a simple yes or no, like one day he'll wake up, call a press conference, and say, "I'm done," and that'll be that. But that's not how this works. That's not how he works. What's actually happening is far more complicated and far more emotional. Here's what people close to the situation were saying in 2025, not publicly, not for attribution, but in those candid moments when the cameras aren't rolling and nobody's performing for anyone. LeBron had started having a very different kind of conversation with people in his inner circle. Not about rings, not about legacy, not about proving people wrong. About time. About how much of it he had left, and more importantly, about how he wanted to spend it. And then there's Bronny, because you cannot talk about LeBron's retirement decision in 2025 without talking about his son. That whole dream of playing alongside Bronny in the league, that was real. That was deeply personal for LeBron. That wasn't a PR stunt or a narrative. That was a father trying to hold on to something that mattered to him more than any championship. But here's where it got complicated. The professional realities of Bronny's situation weren't aligning the way LeBron had hoped, and sources say that behind closed doors, LeBron was grappling with something incredibly difficult: the tension between what he wanted as a father and what made sense as a professional athlete still playing at the highest level. And while he was working through all of that privately, the Lakers organization was quietly doing something that, when LeBron found out, reportedly did not go over well. They were planning for life after him. Not loudly, not publicly, but in the conversations that happened behind closed doors in every front office, in discussions about roster construction, about long-term contracts, about the future identity of the franchise, LeBron's name was starting to appear in the past tense. And when that got back to him, the temperature in that building dropped. This is the part nobody wants to admit. Because we love the idea of LeBron as the eternal unifier, the guy who holds the locker room together, the veteran presence who keeps everybody grounded. But what happens when the tension is about LeBron? What happens when the fracture in the building is between the franchise player and the coaching staff? Everyone goes quiet. That's what happens. And that's exactly what sources describe happening inside the Lakers facility in the weeks after the coach's comments started circulating. Teammates who would normally be vocal, who would normally jump in front of a microphone to defend LeBron without a second thought, were nowhere to be found. No public statements, no social media posts backing him up, no locker room speeches getting leaked to trusted reporters. Just silence. And in an era where NBA players are more publicly connected than ever, where everything gets posted, shared, and commented on within minutes, That kind of coordinated silence is not an accident. It means people are being careful. It means people are choosing their words, or choosing to have no words at all, because they don't know which way this thing is going to land. The front office was in an equally impossible position, because on one side you have your head coach, a guy you hired, a guy you publicly backed, a guy who's trying to build something sustainable, and on the other side you have LeBron James, the greatest Laker of his generation, arguably the greatest player alive, a man whose loyalty to this franchise has been, at times, the only thing keeping the whole operation afloat. Who do you protect? How do you even begin to answer that question? And while the suits upstairs were figuring that out, LeBron reportedly showed up to the next practice and did something that said more than any press conference ever could. He locked in, fully, completely, like a man with something to prove. But here's the thing about LeBron James locking in when his back is against the wall. It's either the best thing that can happen to your team, or it's the last thing before the goodbye. Let's be honest about something. The coach's comments didn't slip out by accident. Nothing at that level of professional sports slips out by accident. Every head coach at that level has media training. Every head coach at that level knows exactly how their words are going to be received. Every head coach at that level has been in enough press conferences to know that a 2-second pause followed by "we're prepared for every scenario" is going to end up on every basketball podcast, YouTube channel, and group chat within 24 hours. So why say it? There are only two real answers to that question. Either the coach genuinely believes the organization needed to start having this conversation publicly, that it was time to acknowledge the reality of LeBron's uncertain future rather than keep pretending everything was locked in. Or, and this is the one that people close to the situation keep coming back to, it was a message, a carefully delivered, plausibly deniable, fully intentional message to LeBron, to his camp, to the league, to everyone watching. We love you, we respect you, but we are not waiting anymore. And if that's what it was, if that's what the coach was actually communicating, then what happened next makes a lot more sense. Because within days of those comments surfacing, people inside LeBron's circle started talking, not to the media, not publicly, but to each other, and to the kind of industry insiders who know when something real is happening versus when something is being manufactured. And what they were saying was this: LeBron is closer to a decision than anyone realizes. Not closer to retirement necessarily, but closer to a decision about his future, about where he plays, about who he plays for, and about whether the situation in Los Angeles is still the right situation for the final chapter of his career. This wasn't on ESPN, this wasn't trending on social media, but it was happening, quietly, methodically, the way LeBron has always operated when the stakes are highest. And the basketball world, whether it knows it or not, is on the edge of something massive.
So here's where we actually are. Heading deeper into 2025, LeBron James is at the most genuinely uncertain crossroads of his entire career. And we've seen him at crossroads. We've seen the decision. We've seen the Cleveland return. We've seen him rebuild franchises with sheer force of will. But this one feels different, because every other crossroads in his career was about chasing something, a championship, a legacy, a moment. This one is about something harder to define, something more personal, something that doesn't show up in box scores or ring counts. This one is about peace, about whether he can find what he's looking for in the building he's currently in, with the head coach who just said what he said, with the front office that's already started planning around his absence, with the teammates who went silent when he needed voices. And the honest answer is, nobody knows. Not the insiders, not the front office, possibly not even LeBron himself. What we do know is this: the head coach didn't expose LeBron out of malice. It was exposing something that was already true, that this franchise is standing at a fork in the road, and the direction they go depends entirely on a 40-year-old man deciding what the rest of his life looks like. That's not a basketball story anymore. That's a human story.
and it's one that's playing out right now, in real time, behind the walls of a facility that the public never gets access to. The question isn't whether LeBron retires. The question is whether this situation, this relationship, this team, this version of the Lakers gave him a reason to stay. And right now, that answer is anything but clear. Here's the bottom line. What the Lakers head coach said wasn't just a press conference slip, it was a signal, a shift, the first public acknowledgement that the era of building everything around LeBron James might be approaching its final chapter. LeBron has defied every timeline, every prediction, every retirement narrative thrown at him for a decade. So never count him out. Never assume you know how this ends. But something changed in 2025. Something in the dynamic, something in the energy, something in the relationship between the greatest player of his generation and the organization that's supposed to be his home. And the real story, the full story, hasn't been told yet. So let me ask you this. Do you think LeBron retires after this season, or does this drama light a fire under him that none of us are ready for? Drop your take in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started.